If you had a PlayStation in the 90s, chances are Twisted Metal needs no introduction. Released shortly after the PS1 launch, it introduced the world to car combat and a new perspective on ice cream trucks. Few games so clearly define an era of gaming in that in-your-face mid-90s attitude. Its sequel promised to up the stakes and bring the destruction to a global scale. But did it set the world on fire? Let's find out. Today, we take a look back at Twisted Metal 2. Twisted Metal 2 was developed by SingleTrac and published by Sony Computer Entertainment in November of 1996, about a year after the first game in the series. Twisted Metal 2 is a vehicular combat game with all the car-based carnage that put the series on the map, and had it flying off store shelves, leaving behind the streets of LA for 8 new battlegrounds, a diverse world tour that spans the globe, from New York to Paris all the way to the frozen landscapes of Antarctica, bigger, badder, and more intricate, filled with hidden areas and secrets, a whole new world to explore and destroy. You take the wheel of one of 14 playable vehicles, an eclectic cast of characters that blends returning favorites like Mr. Grimm and the ever-popular Sweet Tooth, along with a new roster of killer cars, introducing the speedy open-wheeled race car Twister, the not-so-fast Mr. Slam, and the WTF-inducing Axle, whose human-infused car design clearly demonstrates the over-the-top atmosphere that the game presents. What hasn't changed is the game's premise: blow away all competition until you're the last car running, using an assortment of weapons to annihilate everyone in sight, with each character having their own unique special attack that helps dictate their playstyle, and an added flair to the gameplay experience, from Mr. Slam's grab and slam attack, Thumper's flamethrower, and Twister's aptly named special attack. At first glance, Twisted Metal 2 doesn't show many graphical improvements, and it certainly won't win any beauty contests. But the engine has been slightly refined with improved texture detail and less warping, and the new environments lead to an overall brighter atmosphere. As a whole, it's more than passable for a 1996 release. The game's audio is highlighted by the distinct calling cards of each driver and are instantly recognizable, a true nostalgia hit with every soundbite, featuring a rock-focused, distorted guitar-driven soundtrack that amps up the already fast-paced action. Twisted Metal is a series that is synonymous with the PlayStation, and had a big impact in its day. It birthed a genre that helped define an era, but one that was short-lived, never reaching those heights again and fading into gaming shadows as the years passed. But in 1996, we all eagerly anticipated the invitation into Calypso's next Twisted Metal competition. Let's jump into the game and see what it's like to play. Tournament mode acts as the main single-player campaign, and there are 12 characters available to start the game, with both Sweet Tooth and the previous boss character Minion unlockable with the cheat code. Each has varying stats that are displayed in the car info screen. This screen also displays a little bit of flavor text giving each driver's backstory and their reason for entering into the Twisted Metal tournament. 1 year after the previous competition, Calypso is back and is looking for a new location for the next Twisted Metal contest. With the streets of LA already in ruin, he decides that the world will now be the battleground. He's assembled 14 of the world's best combat drivers, ready to battle to the death to become the next champion, with the prize being whatever their hearts desire. Just be careful what you wish for.
Welcome to Twisted Metal.
We start back in the ruined streets of LA, and this first level showcases a wide open level design that remains the case for much of the game. While some familiar weapons make their return, like the fire, homing, and power missiles, it's the exclusion of others that is one of the biggest improvements. Gone are the freeze missiles, rear-firing rockets, and mines. Well, sort of. Instead of these weapons being available via pickups, they are now implemented through a new combo system. For example, quickly inputting left, right, and up on the D-pad will unleash a freeze missile, with a variation of other simple combos activating other secondary, more support-focused abilities. There was nothing more annoying than having to cycle through these weapons in the middle of combat in the first game, or getting them instead of a desperately needed item like a fire or homing missile. These effects use an energy meter that slowly refills over time, with most using around 40% of the bar, meaning they can't be spammed over and over. There are even defensive effects like temporary invisibility and a shield. As for the items that you can pick up, we have the addition of the Ricochet Bomb, which will bounce around the level until they hit a target, giving extra damage if they hit an opponent after first bouncing off a wall. Napalm that deals direct damage but also sets your target on fire, producing damage over time. Lightning, an environmental attack that activates in specific areas on the 3 levels that it's available, and deals damage to any driver in its radius, including yourself. And the remote bomb, that can not only be placed to blow away an unsuspecting opponent, but is used to destroy specific pieces of the environment. This comes into play by the 2nd level as the tournament moves on to Moscow. The smallest level in the game is essentially a death bowl with raised platforms around its outside ring, each of which are destroyable with remote bombs. While not especially useful here, that all changes by the time we get to Paris, where upon blowing up the Eiffel Tower, you gain access to the city rooftops. Pretty cool. The game also has tons of small destructible objects that reward you with weapon pickups. Basically anything that seems like it would be destructible, probably is. The next stage, Amazonia, adds in environmental hazards and destructible walls, which give access to hidden rooms. These small secrets are spread throughout the game and are a nice added reward for fully exploring each level. There are even full health locations hidden in each map, and you'll probably need them. After clearing the level, you square off against the first boss in the game, Minion. This fight acts as a midway point, and while he is more challenging than the normal competition, the fact that he is the only target makes it a manageable encounter. Much like the first game, combat is best served by focusing on one target at a time, with the new combo system allowing you to start your attack with a freeze missile and unload on your helpless target. Ram damage is also back, and heavier characters like Warthog and Axel are a great choice for beginner players. In general, high health and armor vehicles are easier to use. Smaller cars require more precision and are more successful with hit and run attacks, an acquired skill that comes with experience. Another useful tip is to hold select and press down to change the HUD to display your list of weapons. Once I realized you could do this, I never went back to the default weapon view. Notably, health is now regained through pickups, replacing the health stations from the previous game. They also no longer show up on the map, so learning their locations is even more critical. Twisted Metal 2 is a fairly challenging game and offers no save points or continues, relying instead on a password system for each stage. This allows you to brute force your way through the game if needed, and it doesn't penalize you for doing so. New York moves you onto the city's rooftops and is a huge multi-level stage. It's a great example of just how improved the level design is from the first game. It also adds in the threat of instant death if you fall off the side. While not one of my favorite levels because of this, I can appreciate its intricate layout. Antarctica carries over the instant death pitfalls, but adds in a feature where sections of the ice will collapse over time, whittling down the playfield the longer you play. The next map, Holland, is one of the most challenging levels in the game. A wide open battleground filled to the brim with 9 other drivers and little place to hide, requiring you to constantly be on the move to avoid a barrage of enemy attacks. Each level offers something a little different, and it helps to give them a unique feel, and a slight change of pace as you progress through the tournament. But the game also offers up a challenge mode where you can select your level and opponents, a new feature in Twisted Metal 2 and another avenue of single player content. Fun for replaying your favorite levels without going through the traditional tournament mode. 2-player mode is also back, and you can now play through the tournament in co-op mode. There are also cheats to unlock both Suburbia and Rooftop from the first title in Deathmatch. You can even unlock a map from SingleTrac's Jet Moto, which was released just a week after Twisted Metal 2. Nice. The final stage takes you to the streets of Hong Kong, a huge level filled with city streets, a subway system, and a more confined temple area. It also acts as the battleground for the final boss encounter. After destroying all enemies, the game unleashes Darktooth, Sweet Tooth's father, a supersized, Hot Topic outplay on everyone's favorite ice cream truck. A formidable opponent, featuring tons of health and enough firepower to annihilate you in a flash. Thankfully, freeze missiles still work on him. Just stock up on weapons throughout the level and blast him down. After defeating Darktooth, you soon find out that was just the first phase of the fight. Next, you square off against his floating head. This fight is much easier as he has about as much health as a normal enemy. After defeating him, you are then treated to your character's ending cutscene. Each ending shows the reward you receive from Calypso for winning the tournament. Most are a monkey's paw type of reward, where their wish is granted but with an unforeseen cost. The comic book art style is also a lot better than the scrolling text that we received in the first game. Each driver's backstory is just really cool and interesting, and it's worth replaying the game to see them all. After that, you get the game's end credits, and the game is complete. Twisted Metal 2 manages to build upon everything from the first title, and then some. While the general gameplay formula remains untouched, level designs are much improved, being larger and more diverse as you span the globe. filled with tons of secrets that make each more fun to explore and replay. There's also an improved roster of drivers that have interesting stories and a large assortment of weapons and special attacks. My only real complaint is the limited improvement in graphics, but overall, it is a very fun gameplay experience and set the gold standard for vehicular combat on the PS1. In its time, Twisted Metal 2 was released to both commercial and critical success. EGM gave the game scores ranging from 8 to 8.5. GameSpot gave the game an 8.8. And Next Generation gave the game 4 stars, stating, "The game is still an intense, adrenaline-pumping experience that leaves the gamer delighting in an orgy of destruction. Bigger and better is the best way to describe Twisted Metal 2. Aside from its standard Black Label jewel case release, the game was also released as a greatest hit, and the game was ported to the PC a year later, in 1997. So that's a look back at Twisted Metal 2. My favorite game in the series, but certainly not the last. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you next time.